All right, let's get started here. That business center set up for 4K. There's settings in here some people don't know about. Use large icons for quick access. Switching between 4K and 1080. Over on the right side, right click, customize, options, large icons on menus, large icons on toolbars. Should probably save and come back in. Some of these menus stay a little screwed up. It's not a big deal. All right, if there's anyone out there that wants to go through anything, I'm open to go through anything that I post about, anything that I know. I don't know everything. If anyone wants to send me any files, I don't really have a website. Oh, audio now. I don't really have a website, just drag and drop for file sharing. But I know one thing I did want to show, since I talk about it a lot, was georeferencing PDFs. Man, it's just so important to not just take a CAD file, and roll with it. Probably what I'll do is let me find a job that I'd say probably every other job I'll find a change order before they even start working, because I see it in the CAD file. Can't catch it in the CAD file unless you compare it to the PDFs. What version? I am on 5.3, 530. So at this job, I think if this CAD file is right, I found a revision on this job pretty quickly, and man, it really helps the contractor when they can start off by, before they do anything, to know that, hey, there's a change here. To tell the owner, hey, we think there's a change, but no one has said anything, but we can see it in the CAD file. So this right here is just a grading plan for this job. And I just drag the files right in. Just drag and drop. All right, I'm gonna bring the base map in. When I reference PDFs, I like to try to use something from existing conditions. I did get burned one time by not doing that, and luckily it worked out for the best, but it does not always work that way. And I'm not sure if any of this existing showed up, but all right. So let's see if I separated these like I normally do. So usually when I start a job, I go into Bluebeam and I just extract just the sheets that I want to reference. Don't think I did it for this job. I started doing that when I got sick of having to search through page numbers to reference the right PDF. Question, do I use recap? I don't even know what recap is, to be honest with you. Have I had the opportunity to import drone UAV data yet? If so, how is the ease of use? I am a big fan of using drone data in Business Center, or of bringing in images. I'm a huge fan of images, not always just the surfaces, but the image file. Uh, Ease of use, pretty easy. Consistency, not always so much. Sometimes I drag a file in the right, in the right coordinate system. I have I'll bring I've even brought a calibration file in before and still not had it referenced the right way. Uh, it's just not come in the right coordinate system. But when it does come in, I enjoy using it. It's pretty quick and easy. Processing from UAS master into Business Center does work a little bit better. Okay, so I'm just going to take this grading plan out, or I'll do two. I'll do the site plan too. Yeah, that's a site plan. So I just take both of them, extract pages. And I'm a save everything to downloads kind of person. All right, so it's really just as simple as finding the files, the two PDFs I had, and just drag them in. All right, so the first step that I do when it comes to importing PDFs, I go to Project Explorer, which this is how I have my stuff set up. I got View Filter Manager and Project Explorer tabs at the bottom. Drop down the imported files. I select with Control both pages. Go over here, display style, dimmed. I cannot stand looking at the white background PDFs. The dimmed ones I think look the best. So then I'm just going to take this first one, the site plan, and then you can do georef. I always do georeference vector PDF, even if it's not a vector PDF. For any of you guys that don't know, a vector PDF is plotted in CAD, so you can actually snap to the center of the lines. It's not actually an image. It's almost like a CAD file in a printed form. I don't usually apply a rectangular clipping. But I'm going to pick a pixel. I usually start, sometimes it's good just to start and get it referenced, just something really simple. So I like the building pad. So I'm going to click bottom left of the building pad. I'm going to look around, try to find, uh-oh. I don't think I have the building pad in here. Oh, hold on. Yeah, I don't see it. The building pad must be in the another set, another CAD file. This one had a grading and a site plan. All right, here's the site plan. All right, zoom back in here. We got the building pad. So same thing. I'm gonna head over first PDF, right click, georeference vector PDF. All right, first pixel, hard to see with the hatch, so it's still remembered where I clicked the first pixel. Bottom left corner, southwest corner. So I'm gonna click over to here. The location is XY location. The pixel is the pixel from the pixel number from the PDF. So I'm gonna go top right, and it's hard to see. Zoom in a little bit. There's a little X that pops up. Probably hard to see on the stream. That's grabbing that snapped line from the vector PDF. So I'm gonna come over here, top right building pad, and if you pick the wrong line, which I do often, you'll notice right away. So all you have to do is hit register. So 2 points is all it needs. So I'm gonna delete these. I'm gonna hit close to the vector PDF because I'm good there. I'm gonna highlight these points down here, or these lines. They're probably at 0, 0. Yeah, I'm just gonna delete them. Double click the middle button. No, I still got more. I might not find them. All right. So I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna write, oh, this is a hatch. I'm just gonna delete this so it's easier to see. So you can see the PDF. It's almost hard to see the line work because it's so directly on top of the PDF lines. This designer is very good. I've done a few of their jobs. They plotted a great vector PDF that truly represented their CAD file, and everything lines up perfectly. So that was just the site plan. Go back to Project Explorer, right click the second page, georeference. Thank you for the compliment, Robert. I appreciate that. Took me a couple weeks to get everything set up. All right, so one thing, I'm going to go into my view filter manager. I'm going to drop down my georeference PDFs. I'm going to turn the first one off. Yep. So then I'm going to do the same. I like to always reference the same points if I can. So click the bottom left. Then click on the CAD file. Top right of the PDF, snaps on. And the top right of the building pad on the CAD line work. Hit register. Zoom back in. Huh. Looks like the same PDF. No, it's not. It's just hard to see the. Yeah, it's that hard to see the CAD lines behind, or the PDF lines behind the CAD file. So this is all referenced. I'm going to see if I can get rid of some of these. right click, select similar. You click on one, highlight one item. I don't care about these plantings. Not even sure if they can't be because they're in the middle of the building. Right click, select similar. There, it gets those 5, delete. So this, when I started this job, I found this issue immediately because I'm referencing the PDFs and doing things the right way. You can see it right here. There's, this was a pond here on this end, and they turned it into this, or no, it was a longer ditch, and then they turned it into this pond. The contractor had absolutely no idea that this change had happened. The only reason they found out about it was because I found it in the PDF or the CAD file, basically. There's some guys out there that don't like using the CAD file at all, and I'm against that too. Because of this example right here, this was a change that the owner had already requested, but the designer they were dragging their feet with plotting it and sending out a new set of revised drawings. So this right here sped the process up. The contractor was able to go right to the owner and say, "Hey, this is we think we found a change. Is this truly a change?" And of course, it was. Rarely is a designer going to put much time into something that's not actually going to be a change. Now, there was a part 2 to this. I'm going to see if I can find. I made a cut fill map of this one. And I don't think the contractor pushed it too much, but I know if I was the contractor, I would have really pushed it. This pond actually ended up being in a fill area. And of course I go through the whole process, and I must have made a cut fill map of this job. Or no, maybe I made a cut fill map of the changes. I forget what I did. But I ended up finding that this pond had to actually be, the banks actually had to be built. So it wasn't just digging a pond, which, to the owners, designers, they throw this in there the way that they need it, watershed wise. And they think, oh, it's not a big deal for the contractor. And yeah, this is a cut fill map. So you can see the banks of this change, this pond that was added. It's all a fill. It actually zeroes out here by the time you strip off the unsuitables and dig everything out. You have to overbuild this entire bank to make sure that it doesn't, that it functions properly and lasts, doesn't have any erosion issues. A cut fill map right there, you could go back to the owner and say, hey, this is not an easy change, even though it seems like an easy change. So that was something I did for the contractor if they did want to pursue additional compensation for changing what was supposed to just be a ditch into a pond. They had actually build up. So yeah, I'll do one more. Let me see what else I got here. Probably have the changes. Steven, what were you, you're using the what was your what were you saying about the point cloud and how to set up the coordinate system? I think this was the reconciled set of plans. Yeah, in this job I ended up doing a grid line model, line work model for the contractor, and I don't do a lot of that kind of work, but I could not believe how long it took just to offset lines that were all square to each other. It took forever. Much easier when you can start with a CAD file, at least make sure it's right, and then use that line work. I'm not sure when I ever got the revised plans for this job. Well, I'm going to continue a little bit in this with, how quickly I set a job up, or how quickly I move all the line work. Probably go through this pretty fast, but so I'll share my I'll share all my templates too. Really, it's just one template, but I create some of these filters already. Hey, Dane. Adam, there's no difference between using the building corners to localize your PDF instead of using the property corners. The only issue, and this is just me being really anal about stuff, I prefer to find something. I like existing, if there's an existing building, I like to use that because usually the existing stuff, lines up pretty well. I guess if they ever moved something a little bit, something makes me nervous about referencing, something that could have been moved and not plotted correctly. It's probably, like for this job, you can't even tell that there's PDF lines until you zoom way in. So I knew everything was right here. But yeah, I usually go for the building to reference it. So I make these view filters. So I have data prep CAD. And then up top here, right here, this button, you can do another plan view. So I'm gonna this is a new feature I learned. It's awesome. I wish I had this before or knew about it before. I don't know how long it's been out. I believe it's a Rockpile Solutions macro. So what I do is, so both of these are the same plan view tab, the same filter. I'm going to take this right tab and I'm going to change it from the data prep CAD to the data prep layers. So if you notice, everything went off. This is a locked tab, a locked filter, so I have to click the advanced settings, unlock it. I am going to turn, I'm going to turn the PDF on and then relock it so I don't change it when I don't want to. So I've got one view filter here, and then I've got another view filter over here, different filter. So this one has all the CAD line work. So this filter that I made, basically everything that's in layers is shown on the, shown in this filter. Everything over here, all the layers, which are ungrouped layers, which come from the CAD file, they're all turned off. All of my layers are turned on. Oh, you're asking about like actual localization, like the calibration or localization, depending on what the manufacturer calls it, using the property corners. Uh, no, the process that you should use is always off of the control points used to build the project. Another thing I'll say too, property corners gets really tricky because the second you start to talk about property corners, you get into, at least in the US, you get into land surveying. Uh, for most of these jobs, you do the base map survey, uh, and they use that with their, hopefully with control, and then they build the job off of that. Usually, what I suggest the contractors I work with, what they do is go in, do their calibration with the control points that were provided. I always ask the design. You got to ask the designer for a. I always ask for a list of point northing easting elevation CSV. If you ask a designer for that, they usually won't really know what you're talking about or not wanting to do that. So they'll actually usually they'll send your email to the surveyor that did the job. And then when you say, can I have a point northing easting elevation point code file, CSV file, they'll know what to send you, and you actually get the real control file. Uh, and then they base all their calibration off of those control points, and then they go and check, usually anything existing that they can. I always tell them to stay away from the whole property corner line thing because it's just it's a tricky situation in the U.S. when you're not, a licensed land surveyor is someone who deals with property lines. A lot of time, if it's an existing line for property, I won't even put it in the model. The only property lines I put in the model are if the engineer deemed them as a new feature, like a new line, a new right of way. But if it's an existing property line from the base map, I won't even put it in there because I don't want the contractors I work with to have the liability of going out and, saying, "Oh, I'm going to stake the property line." You don't stake a property line. You find property corners is what you do. And land surveyors do that. I'm not a land surveyor. Most contractors aren't land surveyors. Uh, so yeah, that's my little spiel on property lines and corners. But no, you always want to use the whatever control that they used, that the designer used to design the job, and hopefully some of it's still there. Hopefully they've done it in a coordinate system that they can reference too. All right, so back onto the Rockpile Solutions. They build macros. They actually sell macros. You can buy them from them. Some of their better ones, more helpful ones. I assume Trimble must also have a deal with them where they provide macros. So I think it's under data prep, and you have to install these separately. I'm not going to get into it. I'll do it a different time. It's a little bit of a process. Uh, let's see. Okay, lock views. That is the one that I'm looking for. So I'm going to hit this button. It's going to make you sign in. This is a free command. It's included, so you don't need to do anything separate. Not sure what happened. I think this is a floating menu, so I'm trying to see if it's hiding somewhere. My screens. Huh. Yeah, it looks like this might have frozen something up. Haven't had that happen yet. Oh, no, it opened a bunch of them. That was my fault. Notice the newest version of Business Center takes a long time to open, but they've added a lot of features too. The tricks I'm about to show are they're some of the best tricks that I do. The things that save me the most time. I think at least out of all the stuff I do, and that's just taking that CAD file and turning it into something usable. So let's see if this works. If I go back to data prep and I go to lock views, seems like it's hiding somewhere. Well, I don't have to do that part anyway. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna right click up here. I'm gonna hit new vertical tab. So on my left, I got my data prep CAD, and then on the right, I've got my data prep layers. The lock view, what that does is when I scroll in on one view, it scrolls in on the other. It just locks those views together so that when you scroll and zoom in one, it does it in the other one. It helps a lot, but so this is all I do. Over here in data prep, and a lot of people don't know about this command. This one just saves me a ton of time. It's the standardized layers command. This is how I get all my stuff into the layers that I want named the way that I want them. So one thing with this, it will not work unless you have your layers set a certain way. So if you go to CAD and Layer Manager, they have to be a protected layer. So your CAD file you import does not come in as a protected layer. So you only make the layers that you want, which these are part of my template, just the most common stuff I use for a site job. You check that protected, and they go over to the right into this standardized layers function. They have to be protected layers. So that way you don't see all the other layers, you just see the ones that you want to put your CAD line work into. So you can uniquely name unnamed lines. I don't try not to do that when more recently I stopped doing that. Select object on source layer. So you click in here in this box and that allows you to select something. So I'm just going to zoom into the contour lines. So I'm going to click on this one right here. I'm going to try to match this view. So 13 objects were found on the objects layer C, topo, major. I'm going to take these. I don't do topo, major, and minor. I just do, all contour lines. So I'm going to go to O3- contour lines, and when I click on that, they disappear from the CAD layer file, and they go directly into my uh, data prep layers view. So just using these view filters that I already set up beforehand, I can come over here to my minor contour lines. There's 34 of them. Click on the 03 contour lines, and now all those are on. So now this is my actual file that I'm going to use. Go back over here. Let's grab edge of pavement. 20 layers were on C driveway, so they were calling it driveway. I'm going to call it edge of pavement. Click my edge of pavement button. I use red for edge of pavement. They use green. As long as these layers, as long as these lines are selected or set to layers, color by layer, when they come over here, they'll come to the colors that I use. So now I got all my EP lines. This job didn't have any curve. So this is sidewalk right here. C sidewalk. Bring that to my sidewalk layer, sidewalk concrete. That here. The striping. And you can switch, unlock my filter. Unlock my view filter, and then I'm going to go down. I'll probably just leave it unlocked because I know I'm not going to really use this anymore after I do this step. So I'm going to go to the site plan. So these are my parking stripes. So I click on that. There's 18 objects on the stripe layer from the designer. I'm going to put them to my stripe layer, and they pop over here. So 8-inch PVC sanitary, click on that. 28 objects. 04 are my utilities. 04 sanitary. The building pad. So there's multiple lines here. I want the CAD polyline building. I'm going to bring it over 03 building. Proposed drainage swale. I'm going to put that to my ditch layer. Let's see, topsoil stockpile area. Probably won't put that, may as well put that in. Erosion, so I might just make up just pick a layer that's not, I don't really need. I put it to check dam, I don't really use that one. I'm going to put, just picked 13 different erosion layers. Oh, that actually is a check dam. So actually I'm going to put that to the check dam layer. Let's see, this is a bioretention, I think. Yep, bioretention area. So I've got a bioretention layer. I'm going to send it over there. Let's find some storm. Oh, I never brought the utilities in. That's probably why. So I don't have any of the utilities. Apparently the sanitary was in here. Let's see. I'm not seeing too much initially. Oh, there's a couple of these pads. Oh, I got those. I like to. All right, Pablo, I'll run through it again. So the whole way that I'm able to send these layers so quickly to the other screen, basically to my standard layers, is I've got so Business Center uses view filters. I don't have a big Civil 3D background, uh, so I don't know what the other programs do, but View Filter Manager just basically can change different layers on and off. So I'll go through my data prep CAD. Oh, I didn't mean to change that one. So if I click this tab up on the top left, it's my data prep CAD view filter. So when I open this up, I'll make this bigger. So it's got all these different layers for, or all these different, I have layer groups for all my stuff. So if you collapse all my layer groups, the stuff I want to send to, you'll see that every one of those is unchecked. So when I start a job, a CAD file gets dragged into Business Center. There are no lines on these layers. These are my naming layers. No surfaces. I make sure the surfaces aren't selected. So none of these have anything checked, which means that they're not going to show up. Now the layers, the entire group is checked. Layers is your standard layer that's not in a group. When I drop that down, you'll see these million different layers. These are all the layers from the CAD file. And there's just a tremendous number of layers. Most of these layers have nothing on them. So my first view filter is data prep CAD is what I call it. It's good to lock them so you don't end up messing them up. So my left screen's got one view filter, that's data prep CAD, which is all the CAD line work that shows up from the CAD file. Then I have another, so I can change this one tab to whatever view filter I want. And I've got a few of them for the different stuff that I do. The second tab, when I split these views and put them next to each other, I'm going to check that one as the data prep layers, which I've pre-created. So when I start a Business Center file, this shows up immediately. These layers are already, these view filters are already there. I don't have to do anything different. So let's look at this one. This is the exact opposite of the other one. So this one has all the layers off, which is the CAD file ungrouped layers, and then it's got all of my layers checked. So Business Center is big with, really big with view filter managers, or just different view filters. So this one has all my layers on it, but none of the designer's CAD layers, or the ungrouped layers, which is what those are. So if I were to, actually, I'm going to make this one. I'm going to make this one view to show it a little differently. So this is just one view. Data prep layers is the view filter. If I switch it to data prep CAD, it's going to switch all these different layers to this filter with one click. Uh-oh. My computer's not happy with everything going on right now. So then I'm going to right click up here. I'm going to do new vertical tab group, and that puts them side by side. So I've got these two different view filters on at the same time. So this standardized layers command, really all that this is, all that it does is it's similar to a select by layer. So if I were to go up to one of these, there's a select by layer function. And if I were to select, there's a lot of layers. If I were to select one of these things, one of these entities, and I wanted to select everything on that layer, I'd have to check that, and it would highlight all of those. Then I had to go to properties. Then I had to change that layer name to something else if I want to put them onto my own layer. Business Center developed a function, and again, a lot of people don't know about this, that it speeds that whole process up. So this standardized layer under data prep, standardize, uh, you select one object on the source layer, and then it basically that turns into select by layer. So if I click these, dimensions, there's 116 objects. So this command selected all 116 of those dimension lines. If I go to put these to, takeoff labels, one of my layers, when I click on one of my layers that are protected layers, it sends all of those layers to, or all of those items on that one layer to my layer. But because I've got the view filter set up this way, it appears that they jump from one screen to the other. When in reality, they're just displaying in different view filters. But that allows me to see what I'm trying to build. Allows me to see what layers I want, what lines I want. It's an awesome function. So Pablo, I know you're working on a roadway job. If you have any traffic phasing line work, you can bring in that traffic phasing line work from the designer, and this function is huge. You can make one click and hit all the yellow lines, and you can send them all to your own layer. It's way easier than sifting through trying to separate layers and export just those layers. Just send them to your own named layer that you have as a protected layer, and in a few seconds it sends everything right to those, right to where you want it. Trimble has on the website an extension for Civil 3D. You can clean the CAD file with Civil 3D, save it as a Trimble format. I think it will be a lot easier. I've never tried that. I'd be hard pressed to believe that anything could be better than this particular CAD file. Rarely are any CAD. I just picked this one. I didn't remember how clean it was. But yeah, that's something I'd be willing to try. Is seeing. I'm pretty much decided. I found that I'm going to have to purchase AutoCAD Civil 3D just to keep up with editing thing. Opening CAD files. But I might try that and look into that, because anything that makes it easier. Some files are disasters when I bring them into Business Center. Sometimes I have to go back to the engineer and say, hey, you guys need to export this. I'll send some of the suggested ways to export it, or from Trimble, but it does not always work that way. Okay, Pablo, you were exporting as a VCL and dropping it into a new TBC file. Yeah, that you have to do that too a lot of the time. I create. One thing you can do with what you're doing. If you make I call it import files. I'll isolate, like on a road job, you want to isolate the existing travel lanes and existing edge of pavement if you have it from the owner. I make those as a separate file that sits in this import file. Same with all my finished grade line work. And then you can just drag in the files you need. Just open up a new, someone has a random question, you just open up a new file. Any roadway surfaces in there separately as a VCL, and just drag them in, whatever ones you need at that time, and it helps speed up the file. When you don't need to do something that's that critical, you just need to look at something. I do that all the time. But this standardized layer, project cleanup is really good on. Seems to be pretty good on microstation files, which are most road jobs. I'll do the project cleanup sometime. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it definitely works. Yeah, Robert, I've messed around with Civil 3D a little bit, but uh, it's a lot learning a new software, and it just it's such a different world for me. Some of the stuff seems just really difficult to do, simple task. But Business Center has those things as well. For the longest time, Business Center didn't support just an offset surface, and finally they wrote a macro that offsets the surface. But it's been nice to see what some of the files look like in Civil 3D. It's a lot different than what I drag in. I mean, no job is ever this easy, or this. I mean, these designers are top notch. They do good work, and this line work is like perfect, and they separate the files: grading, site, utility, base map. But yeah, I struggle. I struggle with CAD files. They it's very difficult. A lot of some engineers, quite a few of them know what they're supposed to do with exporting them, but a lot of them don't, and they just send you this file, and it's just sometimes it never works, and some of them are so hard to reach out to. Yeah, and I'm young, so I do not know how hard it was to get CAD files from the engineers before. I can't imagine. I cannot imagine. Yeah, two or three lines one over another. That is very frustrating. Hopefully they're on a different layer. When they're on the same layer, it just drives me crazy. I think Business Center's project cleanup function does consider that a duplicate line and will get rid of it, but it's not always that simple. Really wish this macro from Rockpile Solutions would work. It locks these views together. I've never had it not work, but I'm wondering if the live stream is screwing it up somehow because my screens are a little somewhat adjusted. It's a floating menu, and it's here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Maximize it. So I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna lock. Oh, I only have one view, so I gotta go back to Business Center. I guess I gotta close out. So I'm gonna open this other. I'm gonna do a new plan view up top. I'm gonna change that to data prep layers. Go back to my macro, data prep macro, lock views. First view, data prep CAD. Second view, data prep layers enabled. It's got sized really weird. I'm gonna drag it away. So when I want to right click here, new vertical tab. So when I zoom in on this, I'm going to click on this one here. When I zoom in on it, it zooms in on the, actually it's funny because I have the separate, I've got the site plan on one and the grading plan on another. But this locks those views together. Which makes it even easier for grouping all these layers. So I don't think I missed anything. Actually, on this job, they actually got one of those property lines wrong, which is why I never include property lines in a model. You can't see them here; they must be part of the base map, which was not loading for me. Uh, There's like an immediate change order. The part of the driveway actually ended up on the neighbor's property. Maybe I could do the storm one, so I'll do it one more time. So almost time to wrap this up. Uh, Data prep, standardize. I'm gonna click on. No, maybe that wasn't a storm. And a new catch basin. I'm not sure what this. That's something different. These layers. That's not something I want to do. So I don't think there's any more layers that I want. So if I brought the utility one in, I'd see a little bit more. But it's just so nice that this locks your views for you. Rock Pile Solutions did an awesome job coming up with this. I think someone requested it. Here's a sign. So I'm sure there's probably only one, but if I click on it using the standardized layer tool, it'll tell me how many are on that layer. There's one object, so I got a signs layer. Send it to signs, and then you can see it popped up right over here. And now I'll hit undo. Got that on my keyboard. So then this is going to show up right over here when I'm going to hit redo to actually I'll do the command again. So select an object on the source layer, click the source layer. I'm going to send it to this layer, and when I do, it's going to pop it up over here on my other view filter. There it is. So I think, if what you want to do is you want to come back to your proposed, your layers view filter, and then just look quickly to see, is anything missing. Of course, this is the change. Silt fence that came with the erosion layers. Silt fence is a good one to include, and I always try to find the silt fence and include it. And then I always use this to compare the silt fence against the edge of the model too, to make sure it's out far enough. Yep. So at this point, I've got probably most of the layers I want. Just gonna close out of here. Close out of my CAD layer, and now I've got one view filter. And this is all my line work. Can switch plans, the grading plan. Oh, that was the grading plan. It's the site plan. Pretty much everything's here. I mean, at this point, sometimes this whole process might only take me 15-20 minutes, and I've got all the line work, ready to start elevating lines and joining them and cleaning them up. So this is by far my favorite workflow for starting a job, because you take that nasty CAD file, and in a few minutes, it's ready. You're ready to work with it, and not having to look through all those layers. So this is by far my favorite. All right, well, it's 10 o'clock. That was an hour, went by fast. Thank you, everyone, for watching, tuning in. This will be posted on YouTube. I'll get it posted. I'm hoping to do this every week at 9 o'clock Eastern time. Every Thursday will be my goal. I'm sure there'll be days I can't do it, but yeah, I just like going through this. Thank you, everyone, for comments and things like that. It's nice to have answer some questions and change things up. So hopefully I'll be doing this again next week, and hopefully you can tune in and watch. So thanks for watching, everyone.